Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you watch this. I'm going to do the simulation that you guys are going to have to do tomorrow in class. That's Friday, January 27th, or you're working on missing work. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen just so you can see all of the things that I'm going to be using to complete this. So the first thing, I've got the assignment that's going to be pulled up. This is what you'll see. As you read, consider the question: do you agree with how the Supreme Court has historically interpreted freedom of religion? Um, so this week we've gone over how Supreme Court justices make decisions, and one of the most popular things that they have to make decisions on is freedom of religion, the First Amendment. So I've got my notes up that I created in the video that I made earlier this week to help you with this assignment. I've got the four ways that I'm going to be making decisions today. One, the plain meaning of the words in the Constitution, the intention of the framers, the fundamental principles of good government, and finally, today's social values and needs. So, we also have the First Amendment. Let's just start there. This is what it says in plain words: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So, when the Supreme Court is making a decision on freedom of religion, they're going to stick with this part only. So we're going to look at Congress making no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. There's two parts to that amendment. The first one is the Establishment Clause. This one essentially just means that the government is not going to favor one religion or another. And this one is going to be the part where government, like this, protects people's right to exercise whatever religion that they want in the way that they see fit. So there's always going to be two parts to making a decision based on the Constitution when it comes to freedom of religion. Just to, before we even get into the article, I just wanted to be making that very clear. So, what we're going to do here, the freedom to establish and freely exercise religion, is a major part of the First Amendment. In the United States, you have the freedom to believe and follow whatever religion feels right to you. Supreme Court justices have disagreed on how to interpret the freedom of religion in different court cases. So, what does freedom of religion to me? Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. Um, the government cannot tell you what to believe. People are accepted in society regardless of their religious beliefs. Government policies are not guided by a particular set of beliefs. I'm not sure. I prefer not to answer. Um, I guess I'm the teacher, and well, I shouldn't be afraid to exercise my religious beliefs. So I'm going to say this one's cool for me. Um, I don't know if that one's true. We can say that, but government policies are not guided by a particular set of beliefs. Somewhat, some what they do, some what they don't. There's a lot. Um, but I'm going to go with that one because when it comes to this, I'm going to go right back to the Constitution and I'm going to say government cannot officially um, make rules telling me what to believe or not to believe. I'm a big believer in that. Love that. So after we answer the poll, we go into this one where you are actually the Supreme Court Justice with the freedom of religion. So it goes into the actual article. It also explains what the First Amendment is. If you didn't like my explanation, I guess you could just fast forward to this part. All right, this is what it says. The First Amendment. The 45 words of the First Amendment to the American Constitution protect some of the most fundamental and cherished rights for American citizens. Throughout history and around the globe, the rights guaranteed in this amendment have not been available to most people. People have fought and died for these rights, yet today most Americans take them for granted. Read those 45 precious words carefully. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So we have a question here. Which rights are protected by the First Amendment to the Constitution? We have to select three. Yes, sure. Didn't hear that one. I like that one. There's three. And if you take a look, we do not have any text evidence to support the speedy trial. Nothing in there says speedy trial. Right to gather in a group. There's the group. And where does it say group? Peaceably to assemble. Cool. Practice any religion. There's that. Free exercise. The right to free speech. Oh my gosh, there it is. The other three are not there. Let's see if I was right. Hooray, I'm correct. The freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and freedom to assemble and petition are all included in this one amendment. In this article, we will dive deeply into just one of the rights guaranteed by this essential amendment, the freedom to establish and freely exercise religion. You will be asked to interpret this right on your own by taking on the job of Supreme Court Justice. You will answer poll questions that simulate Supreme Court cases. After you share your opinion, the article will explain what the Supreme Court decided historically. As you take on the challenge of interpreting the First Amendment, remember that even Supreme Court justices disagree on how to interpret this amendment. The interpretation has even changed over time, and previous decisions from the Supreme Court have been overturned. There are multiple ways to interpret these words, so even if your opinion does not match what the Supreme Court decided, it doesn't mean you're wrong. Now, pick up your gavel. Let's become Supreme Court justices. We have a picture of the Supreme Court here. This guy actually retired, Stephen Breyer, and he was replaced by a woman. Might as well look her up now, right? United States Supreme Court. Let's take a peek at the justices. Current members, there's John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's the new one. She, just going back through the list, let's see how good I am. She was nominated and confirmed by the Biden administration. The next three, Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, and Neil Gorsuch, were all nominated and confirmed by the Trump administration. Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor were both nominated by and confirmed by the Obama administration. Samuel Alito was nominated by George W. Bush, his administration. Clarence Thomas was appointed by, who do we have here? That's President George Bush, not George W. And then Chief Justice John Roberts was appointed by George W. Bush. So just going through the list, George W. Bush has two. George Bush has one. Obama has two. Trump has three. And Ketanji Brown Jackson and Biden is that one. So a sprinkling of presidents are on the Supreme Court now. So just wanted to give you that. So now we get into it. You will begin by examining a case involving state funding of private schools. Refer to the first part of the First Amendment when making your decision. And it's got it there for you. Okay, two states have decided to give money to religious private schools. Does this violate the First Amendment? Yes, states cannot give money to religious institutions like schools. No, if the states are giving funds for educational purposes, not religious, it is okay. So, on this one, it really all depends on how you see it. So, you're the Supreme Court justice. Um, how do you interpret this part? Does the state give money um, to religious schools or to private schools? Maybe they're religious, maybe they're not. That might favor a little bit towards those particular institutions. If not, um, no, it's fine if the states are giving funds for educational purposes. Specifically not religious, it's okay. So again, it's really your opinion. Yes or no? Yes or no? I'm going to say, yeah, sure. Just kidding. I'm going to say no, it's fine. The reason why I'm not is like, um, if a state gives money to a particular school, they've decided to make that policy. So um, the way education's dealt with is that education bills come up in state legislatures, state congresses, and that it has to be signed into law by governors. So if a state wants to do that, sure, might as well. What did the Supreme Court say? The question of whether states can fund religious private schools was the topic of a Supreme Court case, Lemon v. Kurtzman, that is considered a landmark case. It is still used today to determine what government funds can be used for. In fact, legal experts say statutes must pass the Lemon test, or three rules that come out of this case. One, the statute or law must have clear secular purpose. What does secular mean? Non-religious. Okay, cool. It cannot advance or inhibit religion. What does inhibit mean? Hold back. It cannot foster excessive entanglement. What does that mean? Involvement. So those are the three rules that are coming from the Lemon test. One, does it have a non-religious purpose, that law? Two, does it advance or prohibit or inhibit religion? Um, Three, it cannot foster excessive entanglement between government and religion. So that's one of those core principles. We want to keep religion and what our government does as far away as possible. At least historically, that's what we're supposed to do. After much consideration, the Supreme Court voted 8-1, saying that the state governments could not use government money to fund religious private schools. This would cause too much government entanglement in religion. The words, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, mean that the government can neither support nor impede a religion. Funding religious schools would be too much support. Justice William J. Brennan argued that the danger was not only that religion would enter the government, but also that the government would start to secularize the religious institutions. So, just real quick, we can Google this case, and I'm going to put this website in front of you. I'm going to just type in lemon test, oye.org is a website where you can find all of the Supreme Court cases. So if you are interested in one in particular, what they will do is it'll show up, it'll give you a little bit of the facts of the case. There it is. It gives you the big question. So when I'm asking you or telling you, this week has been Can Government Do That week? The Supreme Court answers those questions. It's their job. And it all started with Marbury versus Madison. Do states that provide state funding for non-public, non-secular schools violate the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment? And I give you a short answer, yes, and a long explanation. Love it. And you can also see when the Supreme Court case was decided. So this was in 1971. And if you think about what was going on in 1971, the United States was in a state of a negative war for the culture. I'll just say culture shock of the late 1960s. Things were beginning to change. So this was one of those examples where um, the Supreme Court made a decision to clearly separate government from religion by answering that question. Can states give money to schools for non-secular reasons? There's no way to enforce it. No way. We also didn't want to secularize religious institutions as well. So we're going to try to keep government separate from religion. And it goes on. And again, this is the simulation. So I'm going to stop it right there because, you already hear me talk enough. And I'll just let you get at it. But what I will say is I'll be grading the short answers directly from Actively Learn. I'm going to see if you've engaged it. And if you have, I'll grade that and I'll put in the appropriate grade. And if you haven't, then you won't get anything because I'm making you do this right now. Become a Supreme Court justice either today, Friday, January 27th, or sometime over the weekend. Hopefully that video was helpful, and good luck making your decisions.